Hi, okay, I will be doing the lower torso now, and I'll be inserting my own measurements just as the way I told you in the upper torso front that you should also insert your own measurement as I'm putting mine, okay? It's just as simple, so easy for you to do. Just follow my instructions, do as I do, and you also get the same result, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead to start constructing my lower bodies. Like I told you, my lower body is starting from my waist downwards. That's my lower torso. So I'm going to be constructing the lower torso on this pattern here. I'm going to be constructing both the front and the back on the same sheet, okay? But I will not be working on the long length. I'll be working on half length. That is my knee length, okay? So let me go ahead. First, you want to take a sheet that is as wide as your hip size. Okay, whatever your hip is, you have it into two. Like now, my own hip is 44. I should be able to measure this whole plain sheet across to be 22. Okay, so I have to have a measurement of 22. See, mine is up to 22. Hope you can see well. So mine is up to 22. Okay, so at that 22 now, what we are going to do is I'm going to square out a very long line to measure my 22. Okay, so I'm using my square ruler already to bring out a square line. Square ruler gives me a very good balance. It gives me, so I'm going to bring out a square line in this manner here. But this is my own square line here. So I have to make sure it measures up to 22. Let me cross check again because my whole full hip is 20. So this has to measure 22. So fine, it's like 22 and a half, okay? So that line now is 22. The first thing we're going to do is I will be drawing out my hip arc front and my hip arc back on this straight line. I will be dividing it so my hip arc front, one will be for the front side and one half will be for the back side. So my hip arc front is 10 3/4. So I'll first of all measure 10 3/4 out from this point, okay? I'll measure 10 3/4. This is my own 10 3/4 here, okay? Right? So from that 10 3/4, I will square down a line like that, okay? Square all the way down. So you know, because I said my full hip is 44, half of my hip is 22, okay? So half of my hip is 22. That hip now I'm going to be dividing it into two again, but this time around I'll be placing my hip arc front and my hip arc back. So I'm going to label this as my F, my front bodies, and my back skirt bodies, okay? So my hip arc front is 10 3/4, which I measured from here to here. So the remaining is 11 and 1/4. I will have to, that's my hip arc back. I measured 11 and 1/4 and it stops here. Can you see where my stops? Just here, okay? At that point too, I will square out my line all the way down. See? I hope you can see it well. Okay? So now this is for my front and this is for my back. So here too I have to draw out my line also all the way down. So this is front and this is the back, okay? So by the time I add my hip arc front and back, which is 10 3/4 plus 11 and 1/4, it will give me a full 22, okay? So now I'm going to go and bring from this line here will be my waist level. So from this line I'm going to go and bring out my, on this point here in the middle, I'm going to go and measure my hip depth. my hip depth is 10. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my hip depth from here, which is 10. So you place your own wherever your own hip depth gets, you place it there. So I'm going to be measuring this place as my A, and this will be my B point. So on your B points, you square out a line, okay, to the front and the back side. I square out a line to the back, and then I square a line also touching into the front. I square it also to the back skirt pattern this way. Okay, so on that point, we know that this is my waist level, this is the hip level, and so I'm going to label it waistline, hip line. Okay, so this is my waistline here all the way, and this is my hip line here all the way. Okay, so what next I will be doing is I'll be inserting my waist arc front, hip arc front here, waist arc back, hip arc back here. Okay, can you see? It's so very simple. So now I'll put my measurements. So for my waistline, for my front skirt bodies, okay, this is going to be the center front skirt, and this will now be the center back. Our hips will come on this side. So this is center, this is going to be my center front, right? And this side is our center back line. Okay, hope you can see that. So on my front bodies, for my front lower torso, I will be inserting my waist measurement here. Okay, you are reading from our center front towards this direction, center front towards this. For the back, you're reading from the center back towards this direction. So my waist arc front is 8 1/4. So I'm going to go and bring out, measure 8 1/4 here like this. So my 8 1/4 stops here. That is for our waist. So because there is always a dart, you have to give allowance for that, and our dart is 1 inch. You'll be putting your 1 inch after measuring your waist measure. So this is my 1 inch allowance for my dart. Okay, having done that, we will now go ahead and go and locate our dart. We'll place it in the right place, because you cannot put your dart on the side. It has to be from your dart placement. So we all know that whatever your dart placement is, you place it first and then count your dart. My own dart placement is 3.5. So I'm counting my 3.5 first, and then I'll now go and locate my 1 there. So I've done my 1, that's my dart allowance that I added. I'm placing it in the right place now. In the middle of it, you draw out a line. You square out a line all the way down to your hip level this way. Okay, now my dart length is going to be 2 inch lesser than my hip depth. My hip depth is 10, so my dart length will be 8. So I'll be placing it from here to be 8. Okay, and then I'll draw it out. I'll use a red ruler so that you can understand. Red and pen, sorry. So this is going to be my dart in front. Okay, that is it. So now this here, you know, this is where our measurement stops. You will now take your hip ruler and connect to your hip. So this can function as a hip ruler too. So I'm going to connect it from there to my hip line. Can we see? So this is our front body skirt. So this is just a normal straight skirt, stopping at the knee length. But if you now want your skirt to have this fit, like a pencil fit, you go to the end and you go in by 1.5 inches. So on this edge here, you measure in 1.5 and mark it there, and then you connect it to the straight ruler in this manner. So that way, can we see? So connected it. So I'm now having a penciled skirt. It's going to, when you want to cut it out, it goes this way, then down this way. So this is our front bodies. So for the back now, I'm going to go and insert my waist arc back here. I already have my hip measurements